Buongiorno, ciao, welcome to Scarlino in Tuscany. We have a fantastic day in prospect, the grand finale of the Rolex TP52 World Championship, and the stage really is set for an epic battle between Quantum Racing, the 5 times world champions, the defending champions, and the team which are the most consistent this season, second in Miami, second in Key West, and the leaders of the regatta by 2 points, Harm Muller-Spreer's Platoon. And conditions on the water just now, a little bit too light to go racing, but Fergal Finlay, fearless as ever. What a battle we're looking forward to.
Yeah, it's been great. It's nice to see another team. You know, we've seen them do well in the previous 2 events, but nice to see another team heading up the leaderboard for the entire regatta. We're
That's
so
right.
used to
In
seeing
fact, there's
Quantum
only 3
and
teams have won the world since 2008. Ran Racing in 2013. Otherwise, it's been Azura or Matador and Quantum Racing. So a golden opportunity for Platoon to break that little 3-way monopoly. But really, so what did Platoon have to do?
I think Platoon just have to keep doing what they've been doing all week. They can't get complacent. I spoke to a couple of their guys this morning. They seem pretty, they're incredibly happy to be where they are. But they've got the best, arguably the best TP52 team in history breathing down their neck. And there's got to be a little bit of pressure there, even though they might not look like it.
Anyway, yesterday was a great day of racing. 2 good races in relatively moderate breezes. Left side was favoured most of the day. Never really cut and dried, but really, and starting off the pin was also generally fairly profitable. But let's have a look back to yesterday's highlights as it happened. Another beautiful day here in Tuscany for the Rolex TP52 World Championships, reaching their penultimate day, back to windward leeward racing. The fleet are getting ready to go out, and it's a great forecast, around about 20 knots. Platoon still on top. 10 o'clock, cappuccino time. This is a cappuccino, obviously, but what's your preference?
When I wake up, I always have a proper coffee, no milk, just to have a little shock.
Something's a little bit different today, not quite sure what it is. Okay, so Greg, tell us about the sunglasses then, a little bit of a trademark.
Yeah, they are. I went to the white sunglasses maybe 10 years ago, and people recognize me with the white sunnies, so even family members and friends always pick me out in pictures with the white sunglasses.
Very much for the our uniform.
These have a hydrophobic layer on the outside which sheds the water when they're new. It works really well, and so they're kind of self-cleaning for a while, and I like the wraparound protection for sitting up in the front of the boat.
Probably 10 to 12 knots of a southerly breeze on the start line for race number 6. Sled get away quite nicely, a really good start for them. Get out to the left early, working from the middle left of the start line. Azura, Quantum Racing and Platoon all tack out to the middle and do lose out to the boats on the left. That's Sled, Allegre and Ran Racing, the most left-sided boats up that first beat, and they lead at the top mark. Quite fickle at times in this races, the breeze is up and down a bit. Allegre got through Ran on the second beat, and then the finish order then Sled winning, Allegre second, Ran Racing in third, and another great recovery from Platoon, coming up from 10th at the first round up to 6th, and that really does keep Platoon at the top of the leaderboard.
We had a good little battle with Allegre and Ran for the rest of the race, but sailed really well downwind and upwind, so yeah, it was a lot easier when you get up the front. We haven't been up there much this regatta, so it was a nice feeling for a change.
Gladiator bouncing back from a 10th place in the previous race. They start nicely off the pin end of the line, starting slightly quicker than Quantum Racing and are just a little bit quicker up that first beat. The left side pays, that's the side closest to the shore, and that's the order at the top mark. Gladiator leading Quantum Racing with Allegre third round. Platoon coming back once again, 5th at the top mark. They get to the 4th in the run, and they pass Azura up the second beat. So at the finish line, a win for Gladiator. Quantum Racing consistent in second, and Platoon getting third and staying at the top of the table going into the final day.
why should we be nervous? We can't lose anything. I'm an amateur, and all the others, they can lose something, you know. For them, it's not that easy to get beaten by an amateur.
You know, it's less about how tricky the venue is and a lot more about how good the fleet is. Anyone can win a race here. Everybody's capable. And we've seen quite a number of different teams lead at the weather marks. And I'm just excited that we've been able to pull a couple out, and especially that one where we were able to get around the weather mark with a close lead and then defend it for the rest of the race. So, yeah, it wasn't that tricky of a day. It was really just quality fleet.
You got to be able to keep yourself focused on a couple little inputs, that's for sure. Fight the urge to look around, just ask every now and then what's happening around you. I really just go try to race the fleet and just head down and charge. Trying to get the boat to foil, but haven't been able to pull that off yet.
Top 4 after 7 races in Platoon, leading into the final day on 20 points, 2 points ahead of Quantum Racing on 22, Allegri 30 points, and on 32 points Azura in 4th.
Tomorrow is it's going to be all on. Yeah, we're basically, I think we're 1 or 2 points ahead, which is effectively nothing. So yeah, it'd be a good battle.
Great once again to see the kids here in Scarlino cleaning up the beach, getting really involved in their sustainability programme and enjoying the interaction with the 52 Super Series. Well, for me, the best way to finish any long race day in the 52 Super Series and the Rolex World Championships is with an ice cream. Believe me, that ice cream was one of the best. Fergal, Finlay, great to see the kids getting involved in the 52 Super Series, getting enthusiastic about the sustainability and environmental responsibility. They're the future.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we're trying to clean up the ocean so they don't have to sail around in the trash that we're sailing around in at the moment. So it's important for them to get started at this young age and realise what is going on, and see the bigger picture and how much cleaner we can make it.
And they're, in many senses, they're the influencers. What we like is that they go back, they're enthusiastic about sailing, but they also go back with the environmental message about all the things that we care about. They take it home to their parents and their families, and sometimes they're the ones who are leading the initiatives and saying, look, we need to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we do start them off young, then the whole chain reaction starts. They tell their kids, and just should get better and better and better. So great to see.
Anyway, that was our beach cleanup along the coast, not too far from here. We did that last night. Weather, as I say, we're waiting just now. We're under AP. We're just waiting for the breeze to come round to the west, turn to the right. That's the forecast. Your forecast, Fergal, what are you expecting?
So our little forecast that we get each morning has as you said, it's light now, but it's going to build straight into the evening. By this evening, we should be seeing 20 to 30 knots. But throughout the racing time, hopefully we can get 2 races off in nice kind of 9 up to 15 knots of breeze. But it could be tricky if the race officer's having to wait. She doesn't want to start a race in which she knows the wind's going to change by 20 or 30 degrees. So she's in a bit of a tough position now. Obviously, everyone out there, chomping to get sailing, and she's making the right decision. But hopefully, when the west comes in, then it'll be much more solid, and we can get 2 really fair races off.
And if you're on board Harm Ruler Sprayers, the platoon, what are you thinking just now? You're watching, because we remember 3 o'clock is the cut-off time. We can't have a warning signal after that.
Well, I think they'd be keen to do as many races as possible. Obviously, it makes life easier for them and more chance of staying in first if there's only 1 race. But I don't think that would be the mood on board. I think they want to do as many good races as possible, because it all counts towards the overall series.
That's indeed the case. We're going to join, hopefully, Jenny Tulloch out on the water, our eyes and ears on the race course at this Rolex TP52 World Championship. Jenny, how's it looking? Do you think we're getting closer to a start time?
Andy, we came out here, I was going to say Chianti conditions again. The race committee originally thought they were going to start on time, and then it's like we had ordered a bottle of wine and we had to send it back into the chef or into the sommelier. The breeze died basically just as we were getting out. We know we're supposed to have a big shift to the west and ultimately sort of Mistral conditions this afternoon. So at this point, we are waiting for that. She said she's going to wait for the west shift. And I think off of Corsica, it's blowing 40 knots already. About 50 miles from here, it's blowing 20 knots. So that was 2 hours ago that it was blowing 20 knots, 50 miles from here. So hopefully, ultimately, fingers crossed, we will get this breeze coming in and we'll have some amazing conditions when we do start racing. But for now, yeah, we are in a delay, in a hold. I think the best spot on the race course, we just saw sled go by us, and Cameron Dunn was up the rig, sitting on the spreader, just taking a look around. I think I'd like to be him right now.
It doesn't look too bad there, though, Jenny.
You know, no, we've gotten a little bit more height, in fact, just to try to see if we can see that westerly here. Can't quite see anything yet, just see Elba Island. And ultimately, you're going to see platoon current leaders going behind us in about 5 seconds. But these guys fired up, I think, today. They were probably the most relaxed team on the dock. I mean, we had a lot of tension. There was not a lot of wind this morning. It was really hot, and you could sort of feel that nervous energy of everybody. You could see the guys just behind us now. But they seemed relaxed. I went and hung out with John Kostecki and Ross Hallcrow in their container. They were staying cool, figuratively and literally, by hanging out in the container. And they were quite calm and just saying they're going to keep doing what they've been doing. It's been working so far, and, you know, maybe keep an eye on Quantum, but not allow them to dictate their racing.
John Kostecki in these situations is the Iceman, isn't he?
Absolutely. He's cool, calm, and collected. I don't think he's melting just yet. But I don't know, as you guys said, as the time ticks away and we maybe lose the ability to have that second race, it then makes this one race even more important. So that might put the pressure on, especially Harm, if not JK. You know, if you feel like that, you might then try to push the start a little bit more. And those guys have been sailing really conservatively so far this week, haven't really had a good start yet, and then have been able to sail up through the fleet. But I think if you get nervous about it, then that game plan might change, not on purpose, but it just might change on board, and that might be where we see them slip.
What would be your evaluation of the game plans of the two different teams? I say Platoon leading by 2 points. I mean, they could stick like glue to Quantum and possibly win, or do you think they'll just sail their own races?
The hard part is those boats, and you know, Andy, because you interviewed James Line yesterday, who explained a little bit about the setup on the two boats, but they sail quite differently. Platoon sails away from the fleet and has been pretty fast this week, both upwind and downwind. Quantum sails sort of stuck in the pack, does a lot more tacking on the upwind, sails a lot higher. And so I think if you were Platoon, the whole strategy of starting close to them on the starting line might not be the best strategy, because you especially wouldn't want to beat a weather of them. But at the same point in time, maybe you're happy to beat a leeward of Quantum. It's just hard in breeze to really pinch someone off or to ultimately get past them on port tack to be able to tack across. So I think if I was Platoon, you might want to see them just a couple boats to weather up the starting line from Quantum with a really big hole and hope to hold there and hold them off on starboard as long as they can. But JK did say there's a lot of passing lanes if it gets windy on the downwind. He says we'll be in those conditions where you might be planing or you might not be planing, so one boat might just plane past everyone in a little puff, and it's going to be really a wide open game on the downwind. So I think you can just keep that in mind on the upwind, and I think probably we won't see too much interaction between those two if it's John Kostecki's game. Now, if Quantum gets out ahead first, I think Terry will plant on Platoon as much as he can, so it'll be interesting to see right off the start.
Absolutely, and as time moves on, you kind of feel it moves more in favour of Platoon, in that they're the better or faster boat uprange, particularly downwind, and we're expecting the breeze to come in fairly quickly and build quickly.
I asked John Kostecki about that. I said, I mean, I know I've heard you guys are comfortable in breeze. Who else do you think is a fast boat in breeze? Maybe he was just playing it coy, but he was like, all these boats are fast in breeze, so we don't necessarily feel... We feel comfortable ourselves compared to light air, but we don't necessarily feel like we're faster than the fleet, which I thought was an interesting answer. I mean, from what I've heard, they should be faster than the fleet in breeze. But yesterday, Dirk de Ritter had told me that the what did he say? He said, the windier, the merrier for us. So I do think that they're probably, they're happy to feel comfortable themselves.
But
Hello!
But the Achilles heel so far for Platoon has been the light, choppy conditions, sub 10 knots, and so really from the Platoon point of view, they want the breeze to come in quickly and hard.
Yeah, I think they're happy that Maria decided to not go in this. It's not choppy, but it is very light. I mean, it is almost like lake sailing here. It's light and quite flat, which we've seen a lot this week until later in the day when the sea breeze started to fill. But it's just a waiting game, and sometimes this makes teams even more nervous. But as you said, JK, the Iceman, he should be doing just fine on that boat, keeping everyone cool.
And in the meantime, talking about body language and the atmosphere, the ambience on the race dock, we watch Quantum Racing. You know, you Americans love the term bunched. Terry Hutchison really was the absolute epitome of being bunched, you know, nervous energy sparking off everywhere, and really just couldn't seem to settle. And how you harness that among the team, you know, he's the past master of that. And I'm sure the Quantum Racing team will be totally motivated. In the middle of it all, the ringmaster Ed Reynolds, you know, he was like the happy dad at sports day, trying to keep all the kids' nervous energy down, cracking jokes. It was funny to see for example, some of the Quantum guys taking one of the head sails onto the boat to Leach first, and Ed Reynolds is saying, "No, what are you guys doing?" But it's just, you know, you know, they may be the 5 times world champions, but there's still a little bit of nervousness among that team.
Well, I think Andy, Terry's got a couple of reasons to have that energy today too.
That's his modus operandi. That's the way he's wired up.
It's the way he's wired, but it's his 49th birthday as well. So if there's any day that you want to take down a world championship, it would be today. It would be the ultimate topping on that birthday cake. But I think he's known for being, a bit the opposite of JK. He doesn't even try to play it calm and cool. He's just this wound up bundle of ness. And Ed, I think, does a really good job. I mean, we saw him take Terry up to a viewpoint where they could look over the race course. It was like, okay, just get some cool breeze on your face. Yeah.
And just wind them down.
Just trying. And ultimately, at that point in time, there wasn't any cool breeze, so I don't know if it worked. It was glassy out on the water when they went up and looked. So I think that might not have even helped Terry, because he definitely wanted to race today. And earlier, going out and looking at a complete mirror of a race course didn't help him. But no, as we left the dock, I don't think they were even the first to leave the dock. We saw Gladiator and Preveza take off together about 10 or 15 minutes before everyone else. So they didn't really use that nervous energy to then be like, let's be the first out on the race course, which I thought maybe we would see them do. But at that point in time, there wasn't much wind. We didn't think we'd be racing on time. And then it filled in beautifully. And then, as we've said now, has just started to back off. So waiting for this westerly. I'm not sure if from the tower you guys can see. Are you seeing a breeze line? It does almost look like we might have it now up the top of the bay.
We can see something in our flags. Obviously, we're about 20-30 meters above the sea level. We're starting to see the westerly on our Rolex flags just outside our tower block. That gives us a beautiful view down to Piombino, and we can see none of the race course. But that's an occupational hazard that we have up here. Jenny, what else did you hear about you spoke to some of the navigators in terms of the actual forecast. What are they expecting?
Well, it was a question mark as to whether the sea breeze was going to hold that westerly Mistral type conditions off for longer. A lot of them thought we would get the first race off in this lighter air, and then we would have a small delay before the second race got off in the big breeze. I think probably they're happier to just wait it out until it comes, because that might have been really sketchy, especially if we got the westerly coming in during the middle of that first race. And then the question mark was just how windy it is actually going to be this afternoon, whether it's going to be 14 to 16 or whether it gets up to 20 knots. And some of them had different forecasts that they had heard. Maybe it will be 20, 25 tonight, but maybe it would come through this afternoon early while we're racing, or maybe it wouldn't come through until about 5, 6 p.m. So that was what the teams were setting up for. I think when we were out here originally, they were going into their medium sails already, because it did look like the breeze had filled quite quickly, and then just the sea breeze dying just because we've got this fighting condition. Everyone dropped their jibs the second that she said she was going to delay, and I think then bagged them and are thinking about doing lighter sails if they stay in this situation. But they won't. Maria has said she'll wait for the westerly.
That's right, and the westerly comes between the island, between the north end of Elba and Piombino. The Piombino is just that little promontory we can see in the shot there to the right. So that'll be further to the right than we've seen it, and an interesting wind direction, quite challenging.
Yeah, I think if it funnels through that Piombino channel, it's already, the Mistral is known for being a windy breeze anyway. It might take a while to get to us, but you'll see a funneling effect, a bit like San Francisco where it funnels through the two heads. Here, it's just behind us. You can't quite see, but it'll come between Piombino and Elba Island, and I think just depending on where the race course is set up, compared to that channel, might see teams determining whether to go left towards Elba Island or go right towards Piombino and the land there, which is closer to us, and I think probably should be the favored side, but I didn't actually hear that from anyone today. They were more focused on if it's breezy, we'll be setting up for breezy conditions, this and that. I didn't hear them say that they'd like the right, and considering all week we've seen the left pay in almost every situation that we've been in, again, it'll be hard to bet against the left.
That's right. The other thing, I mean, we were very fortunate, we'll see a clip just very shortly, we were very fortunate to sit in with the Quantum Sales team briefing this morning. And obviously it's a unique situation as far as I'm concerned here where you have the one coach briefing the three teams, but two teams who are the main protagonists in this world title fight today, if you want to call it that, but briefed with the same information and debriefed from yesterday by Coach James Lyne. And also weather information principally from Ian Moore, the navigator on quantum racing. And one of the things James was saying, if it comes through the channel, the chop and little swell will build up quite quickly, and that makes it a little bit harder in terms of time and distance onto the line, and really you have to be wary of that. But we were very, very fortunate to sit in on that briefing this morning with the Gladiator team, with the Quantum Racing team, and also with the Platoon team. So maybe we can have a look at the clip from the Quantum Sales briefing this morning. Roscoe, a fairly different situation then. Two teams vying for the World Championship, same briefing. Atmosphere just the same as normal, is it?
Yeah, it's normal for our two teams, or our three teams, doing the debrief and briefing together. You know, we get some good lineups together, so we know the differences in the boats are quite dramatic, and the way we set up differently, and a lot of the time there's small differences, but there are differences out there.
And what about the pressure today? Is it any more pressure for you?
It's just another normal day. You know, we're going yacht racing. We're always going out there to do as well as we can, and just got to keep it up.
What did you learn from Miami?
Miami was a lot different than this. Was a lot more lumpy, which is we could be seeing those conditions today. It's different wind direction. Sea state should be getting up, and it's meant to be a boarding breeze. It just depends on when the breeze comes in. You know, the forecast says it could come in at noon to 2, so it's just we just wait and see and get out there and have a good time. The
strengths and weaknesses of both teams vis-a-vis today from the briefing?
Well, I think today you're going to see Platoon's going to be strong most of the time. Quantum, we've always had a high mode. It's our get out of jail free card that we've used extensively. So we need to get ourselves in a position where we can sell high and control the fleet. Platoon, fast forward, downwind. They need to make a lot of gains, and that's where they should be able to do most of their damage today because they're extremely quick downwind.
Do you want to win?
I truly don't care. Quantum racing has been my heart and soul. Absolutely. But, to see Harm walk away with the World Championship, I won't have too many tears.
Fantastic. Ed Reynolds, the project director, says Quantum Racing has been his heart and soul for 10 years, but he wouldn't shed too many tears if Harm Muller-Spear. Who do you think is going to win? Is it just a two-boat race?
It's not just a two-boat. We're putting a lot of emphasis on Platoon and Quantum, and they're 2 points apart from each other. Platoon have had an incredibly consistent, great regatta with sort of 6 races inside of the top 3 and just one mid-fleet result. But then you've got Quantum on the other hand with 3 firsts already, and their reputation as well. But Alegre and Azura, with 2 races, they're still in the hunt. So if there are 2 races, we're not just looking at Platoon and Quantum, and those guys have got to remember that as well. They can't just go out and race each other to the back of the fleet, because if they do, and the way that Alegre are going, if they keep up their good run of form, and the 2 boats who are in front of them are gone, then all of a sudden it could be
an opportunity for Alegre.
Yeah, and you could go into the last race of the day. If we get the second one in today, then it could be a 3-horse race very, very easily. But it's one thing that I've heard being said around the fleet here is very, very easy to come last in a race. It's very, very difficult to win one. So, it is hard for Alegre and Azura to get back into it, but it's not impossible with 2 races.
But the kind of the history, the legacy, if you like, is with Quantum Racing. Quantum Racing are 5 times champions, winners in 2016, in 2014, 2011, 2010, and 2008. So that does quite a storied history, isn't it?
It is, and you know it's very, very hard to look past history, and we know that Quantum have got I don't think the pressure hits them too much, and they come out and they sail on the day like they do all week, and I think we've seen it once before in the past where they've had a bit of a nightmare finish to a regatta back in Portales, but
absolutely, it was the last day. I think they went left and were lost in the water after everybody else had finished, and that was a day. But again, the kind of arithmetical pattern, if you like, the pattern is it's every second championship. So this could be Platoon's year.
It could be, but the other thing you've got to remember for Quantum is they weren't happy when they left Miami. No. That was a very rare result outside of the top 3.
Yeah. And they're always at their most dangerous on the bounce back.
Exactly. You do see people when the chips are down and you get a 10th or a bad result. We've seen it twice with Gladiator where you get a bad result and the only thing you can do is to bounce back. So we've got to be wary of Quantum's mentality after Miami.
Anyway, in terms of the weather, let's have a listen to Campbell Field, the very famous and successful navigator from the Sorsha, and this was Campbell this morning.
Well, yeah, hopefully. It's looking a little light out there. There was a little bit of a frenzy yesterday afternoon. We thought we might sort of have a good 20 knots blowing through sort of later this morning, but forecast has changed slightly. There is some breeze out there. We've just got to be patient and let it roll in. So hopefully by the last afternoon, the last race this afternoon, we should have, nice 18, 20 knots. Direction from the northwest, coming in through the gap out between Alba and the mainland there. But I think it might be a bit sort of lighter and a bit more unstable around the first start. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, Campbell Field from Sorsha. Sorsha, pretty steady regatta early on. The last couple of days not been quite as good, but they're not doing too badly.
No, they've had their first 3 races. They had a 7, a 4, and a 3, which is a very credible score in this fleet to be up in the top 3 and around the mid fleet with a boat that should not be as fast.
7 years old, I think it is, isn't it?
It was always a good boat when it was Synergy. It was a good boat when it was Sled. It was good when it was Rio, and it's nice to see that Sorcha are keeping up the tradition of that boat. And they're sailing well. They've had a couple of unfortunate incidents dropping the kite in the water, and in this fleet you don't have room to do that. So, if they've got 2 more races, they'll be hoping to have a little bounce back, and they've still got plenty of points to gain and people around them to gain places off.
We talk about bouncing back. It's so often the case that you have teams who have a very bad regatta by their standards. So, for example, at the moment, Brunellasek in particular ran in 8th, Brunellasek in 10th, going towards Porto Cervo later on or next month in June. They would not be a surprise to see them bounce back and be on the podium.
For sure, the Brunellasek team, they won't be happy with this at all. They're in half the team is Italian on that boat. They're kind of half on home waters, and then going over to the next Italian event down in Porto Cervo, where they've been pretty successful.
They're pretty successful in the coastal races there, particularly.
And ran past world champions, past regatta winners from over the years, and one of the most successful inshore and offshore sailing teams. You'd think they're going to bounce back as well, but bouncing back is hard when the quality of the fleet is this high.
That's right. Just look at the second half of the leaderboard, if you like, from 6 to 10. There's really not much in it at all. Is there? 44.3 points for Provezza in 6th, down to Brunellasek on 52 points. But again, all of these teams, I think, probably mostly looking forward to or hoping for 2 races today.
Yeah, absolutely. When it's that tight at the bottom, only 6 or 8 points between those teams, then trying to put 6 boats between you is one thing, but trying to put 3 boats between you in 2 races is a little easier. So I think everyone wants to be here sailing. No one's asking for the regatta to be over early and take the position they're in now, and I'm sure they won't be after the next race. So everyone really, really wants to get a race in. We've got an hour and a half before the final possible warning signal at 3 o'clock.
And in general, a race takes an hour, isn't it? Plus or minus 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean,
it's about 50
see
4 legs, 15 minutes a leg. And if the wind's steady, then Maria can usually get them off in 15-20 minutes is
Yeah.
one of the advantages of a fleet like this. When the racing's finished, if the course access is still reasonably close to in, she's pretty quick and pretty efficient. And I say it's the key thing is warning signal before 3 o'clock. But we also had a chat with Pepe Ribas, very successful round-the-world racer, in particular in the Volvo America's Cup sailor, and sailed quite a lot in the TP52 class before. He's come on to Platoon this year. He's the boat captain and the pit man, and he really has been a steadying influence, a sailor with a huge work ethic, and he's brought that with his shore team as well. He's brought 2 or 3 Spanish guys, a very small shore team actually, considering the size of the team or the strength of the team. And we're going to speak with Ulysses Pepe earlier on today. Pepe, why is it going so well in the Platoon just now?
I think we are doing a great job, the crew. John is doing a fantastic week and Harm is driving fantastically, so it's a combination of everything.
And the boat is quick. Why is the boat so quick?
We've been
to the boat captain.
No, it's not for me. I mean, we've been doing a lot of upgrades this season and looks that all the upgrades are going in the right direction, so everything is working. Change the rigging, change the keel, some new development on the sails with Jordi Calafat and Quantum, and especially team up with Quantum and Gladiator for the training is making a step forward.
A few words about your shore team.
We are not much people. We are very short, but I think we have very good people with us. It's Aleix, who is very good sailor and was the boat captain for Didac in the Vendée. We have Eric, who was a tender driver for Desafío, Biel. So we are bringing people that is really experienced from Spain, and they are making a really good job.
But it's quite a small shore team.
Yes, we are a very small team compared to the big guys. We are 3 in total, and we have to deal with it.
You have to work hard.
Organize good and normally work on the basics. We don't have time for cosmetics or cleaning, or we work on the basics, just the speed.
So that's Pepe Ribas talking about the shore team as a man with a little bit of experience there. How important is it? And he says they've got a team of 3 for their technical team on the shore.
Yeah, if you have that depth of experience and across 3 people, then it could be worth an extra man. So we have 5 people on our shore crew. There aren't 5 people full time. In regattas we have a few more extra people, and what Pepe was saying there, they concentrate on the basics. We're given the time across a broader range of people to get into the aesthetics and the cosmetics that he said they don't concentrate on as much. So, but if you have that experience, yeah, you can run it with fewer people. But it's very nice having an extra person.
What are the essential skill sets then across your shore team?
There's
multi-skilled people or specialists, or
if you were running 3 people, you'd certainly want a multi-skilled team. But we have the luxury of having a dedicated sailmaker, a dedicated rigger, a dedicated boat builder. We have guys on the boat who the sailors also get involved in regatta time as well. We have guys who have been working with the hardware and developing hardware and winches systems over the years. And you see it on Platoon as well. You see a lot of their sailors mucking in when the regatta comes in because they're short on staff, so may not get everything they wanted done before the regatta starts. So it's nice when the sailors come in and lend their expertise in areas as well. But no, certainly for us on Gladiator, we have a fairly big shore team, and we're not the only ones who have a big shore team. But it's definitely nice having extra people around to take the load off.
So, and while we've got time to talk to you about these kind of things, obviously the Gladiator, formerly Interlodge, is the latest generation boat in this. What's cool and sexy? What's really exciting about the hardware that you've got on board? And what's kind of a step ahead in this generation of boat?
One of the main things you see on this boat is probably our primary and main winches.
Yeah.
We have the latest Harken Air 250 winches straight from the America's Cup. They were developed for the America's Cup, and then they were seen as a success and been able to put into production. We're currently the only boat with those, so it's hard to go to the other containers and ask for spares. But yeah, we've
Prevents not really?
No, I don't think anyone else has got the air winches in this fleet. But we work very close with Harken, talking about what we're finding with them and what's
so what
good.
are the advantages of them? Just describe.
They're a lighter winch. They have a bigger drum size. So in terms of jibes and hoists, you actually get better line speed off those winches because you're getting more travel. They're bigger than the standard 650 winches you see here on Platoon in front. We are one of the boats with the larger runner winches at the back. I think Azura and Provezza are the only teams, other than Gladiator, to have the larger winches at the back. Makes it slightly easier. The bottom end of the runner load for our runner trimmer Ben Durham to get the runner up to load, and then maybe slightly harder at the top.
Is the runner load increasing, and all the loads are increasing, the force through tension? As
the boats get lighter and stiffer, and the design and technology going on inside the boat moves forward, then loads go up. We're since the introduction of the deflector in the rig a couple of years ago, we've seen the loads on the forestay and then ultimately the runner go up an extra ton. So it gives us better ability to depower the mainsail in the much windier conditions. Other than that, the technology on board this boat is very similar to the technology we had on the last boat. We have a slightly different computer. We have slightly very slight maybe technological advances.
What would be the next step change if you were building another boat for next season? Is there anything in terms of hardware that you?
Yeah, make it hydrofoil.
Yeah,
with
course.
foil upwind.
I have to speak to Rob Whelan about it. Anyway, it doesn't look like there's going to be too much change for the meantime. Still only about 5 or 6 knots on the race course. We're going to go on a break. If you have questions in the meantime, post them on our social networks and we'll try and answer them as we come back. But come back with us very shortly and we'll join the racing action as it starts at this Rolex TP52 World Championship Grand Finale. Welcome back then. A short delay while we wait for this grand finale to get underway. This battle between Quantum Racing, the 5 times world champions, and the pretenders, if you like, the most consistent team this season. That is Harm Muller-Sprier's platoon. They've had a 3rd in the World Championships before, back in 2008. They've had a 2nd before. Could this be the day that Harm Muller-Sprier's team takes the world title? So the news from the race course is that we're only going to get one race away, because the time limit, as we said, is 3 o'clock. And we can see the pictures from the water. We've been waiting for the breeze to fill in, and certainly it's come in there nicely, looking like fantastic conditions. Jenny Tulloch, how is it?
It is stunning out here now. We had been waiting for this westerly breeze. It has come in with force. It is probably 15 to 17 knots down here on the starting line with just 3 minutes, 10 seconds to go. Here, maybe it's about 20 knots up at the top mark, so the team's all fired up. I think they were still sitting there with both light air and medium sails, trying to figure out what they were going to race in, and then all of a sudden, here it is, breeze on, everyone up with their mediums, and less than 3 minutes to the start.
So, Jen, what the situation then? This could become a match race. There's no other team can win the world title. It's really between Quantum and Platoon.
Yeah, with Platoon on 20 points, Quantum on 22, and Allegre on 30, it means even if Platoon got last, they couldn't actually lose to Allegre. So Platoon, I think, eyes only on Quantum Racing here. We might see a match race, but again, I think at the same point in time, they're going to be thinking about season points and series points in the 52 Super Series. So I don't think we'll actually see JK try to take Terry Hutchinson and Quantum Racing out.
No.
Because you don't want to have 10 points when you could only have maybe 1 or 2, especially if you're a fast team. I'm not sure what you guys think from there, but I definitely
agree
think
with
that would
that,
be
Jen.
a hard call.
Yeah, I mean, I say, and the other interesting thing that we've had this week, and we had it with Pepe Ribas, I think, in that interview, but he certainly said it to me several times. Also, JK and Harm have also said this week they're focused on winning the season. They think they can win the season, and that's that's the first time we've heard that message this week. And so they're not going to. Well, actually, I was going to say they're not going to match race, but there they go.
Well, and that was Terry Hutchinson and Quantum Racing engaging there. So they're playing a little bit of a forceful game. And in fact, maybe they're going to go for it. The best that they could do is push Quantum out to the right, force them to have a really bad start. But now they've tacked back. So it's tricky to call what's going to happen here. It's only 1 minute, 20 seconds to go to the start. And I think we've seen a little bit of a tussle. Maybe Quantum really likes the left, so they just want to push Platoon a little bit to the top. And then they're, as you can see, coming down towards the pin end of the line. So I kind of like that move there that Quantum Racing just played.
Meantime, we're on board with RAN Racing just now. Fergal, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, RAN have had a tough regatta, so they're going to be looking to have a much better race in this last one and make their regatta memorable just for the last race. But in terms of Platoon and Quantum, I don't think it's down to Platoon at all. I think it's
very
more
right-sided
up to
in terms of the setup for the line at 40 seconds to go. Jenny, talk us through the start.
Well, I thought Platoon was setting up for a high boat start there. It looks like maybe they were too high. I think actually some boats might even be held out at the boat end here. So Platoon had to drop back in towards the middle of the pack a bit more. Quantum at the moment hidden in the middle of the pack. They've been very, very good at calling the time and distance to the line, having full speed momentum at the gun. I think we should expect that from Terry Hutchinson and Quantum Racing here in the middle. Still hidden. Can't quite see where Platoon is. Andy, let us know.
Yeah, very bunched at that right-hand end, the committee boat end of the line. We can see Platoon there through the back. Seem to be high of ley line as we come in at on the gun. The best start, I think, there is actually Bernenosek to weather. Down here, Sled. Meantime, Pravetsa and that's Sorcha's bow through the back. Not such a good start. Terrible start. Not such a good start for the Gladiator, and not a good start for Platoon. Platoon seemed to be second rank off the line. Yeah, there we see Platoon forced to tack away out onto port. So the early advantage looks to be with Quantum Racing. We can see them, I think, 2 boats down from the right-hand group. Bronenosek there forced to tack away as well.
Yeah, but Platoon, they got held out. Bronenosek won that starboard end, absolutely nailed it, hit the line at speed. Everyone wanted the right-hand side. We saw the entire right-hand side right-hand half of the line taken up. You see Sled had the most left-hand start, and they were even in the right-hand half of the line. So everyone really wanting this right-hand side. Platoon got forced out and had to start second. Gladiator we saw in irons, and I think Ran had a penalty put on them. We saw them do a 360 and go back, but it was a really unclean start for.
So here we
for
go,
quite a few
Quantum
boats.
tacking away. They're going to keep the cover, I think, on Platoon. They have at least one boat between them, well, two boats between them and their main rival. There's Azura just to leeward, but Renesec to leeward of them as well. So the advantage is with Quantum just now, lying third on our virtual just now. Platoon down in eighth. But we have seen Platoon, the masters of the comeback, just chip away. What kind of wind strength do you think you have just now, Jenny?
I still think we probably have about 16 knots here down the course, but you can see up at the top, it's darker water up there. There's more whitecaps. They are just constantly going to be sailing into more breeze. So everyone playing the game that they're in right now, but setting up and keeping in mind that it should only build a little bit more. I think Quantum Racing, again, had a great start, playing that one maneuver to push Platoon out to the right a little bit, forcing them into that race committee fray, and ultimately giving themselves a clean spot down the line and a better spot on the race course here. But Azura looks like they're really strong. Quantum Racing happy to be covering both Azura, who are their arch rivals for this season, and also Platoon much further out on the right-hand side. So I think you're feeling comfortable-ish, but as we said earlier in the broadcast, John Kostecki says anything can happen on these downwinds. If one team gets into a puff and is planing, they could plane right by the whole rest of the fleet. So at the moment, looking good though for Brunelesec and Azura, the two blue boats.
Yeah, strong out on the left, Jen. Sled 9.9 knots, fastest boat that we have on the water, and lifting away from Quantum's line. So the left looking strong just now, Fergal.
Yeah, I think like we said earlier, and we've seen all week, the left has been super strong. So it was funny that absolutely everyone in the fleet decided to go into the right. I thought there'd be at least one looking back historically at the week and trying not to think about the weather forecast maybe too much and try and hit the left. But Sled, they're winning on the virtual at the moment. They've got a really nice left shift there, and maybe the other guys will sail into it, but they're probably in more pressure there as well. But certainly Quantum have got the holdover Platoon really deep down the back of the pack, but they have been able to come back into races, as you say, but they'll struggle very much from there. And Azura are going to be looking to get on the podium as well. They've only got 2 points behind Alegre, and currently got Alegre down in 8th, and they'll be looking to get up on the podium and finish on a high note.
Yeah, Quantum not fantastic really. They have Azura there to ahead of them. Pravetsa to leeward. Platoon's lane not really too bad in the meantime, I don't think.
But I mean, Platoon did tack off very early. They're going to be one of the furthest, the earliest boats out into the right, and kind of, I don't know if it's the angle we're looking at Quantum, but they look to be going bow down. Maybe if you look back at their tracker, you'd see them start hitting into a bit of a left.
Well, they've gone from 3rd to 5th just now. Platoon have gone up to 6th. So really nothing in this.
Yeah, Platoon all the way down in the most right-hand boat with the red tracker, and they're not looking too bad. And if a big right does come through, but
we've seen a right on that side before, coming off the land up at Piombino. It does channel down that valley between the main part of the mainland and the promontory.
You can't. I think one thing we can't ignore is that look at the damage Sled has just done to Azura, where they started off in their tacks. There has been some left pressure there. Platoon just tacking they started to go down. Maybe they were just starting to get affected by Brunelesec, but they've tacked off and they're going to come through the fleet. And this is where we'll really see how they've gone against Quantum and if they're still in touch with the regatta lead.
Platoon then are coming back on starboard as well. They might if they feel they can get up to Quantum. Look like they would cross from there on our virtual, or certainly get up to them. Starboard tack advantage. Jenny, have you got a good vantage point just now, Quantum and Platoon?
Yeah, it's looking like Platoon really able to play well on that right-hand side. As you said, they had clear air, and they are just forcing Quantum Racing, who was sitting in bad air and falling back all the time. As Fergal said, they're forcing Quantum into a leave out here. So It's been unfortunate times for Quantum Racing, and at the moment, Quantum Racing being leave out as well by perhaps Allegre. So it's going to be a hard spot for Quantum Racing to sit. They went from looking like heroes off the start line to
Don't go there.
not even leading this regatta anymore.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, this has been the hallmark of the Platoon game so far, this regatta. Their starts have not been as crisp as the Quantum teams, but they have managed to wriggle out, find themselves a lane. That seems to be so much one of the premium skill sets of John Kostecki, though we're watching a Sled going across.
Sled really made a nice gain going out and picking up a little left early, but they're still on the right hand side of the course. So they've actually, everyone seems to be kind of sailing up the middle, bar Azura and Brenenesek and Sorcha out on the right. But Sled kind of got a bit of a lucky left, probably if it's this much of a right course.
But it's interesting. I mean, Jenny's spoken to Cameron Dunn several times this week, and he's just said left, left, left. That's what they like, and. He said he feels that the left always offers something, and it's paid for them just now. But there's a situation. We have Platoon upwind with cover on Quantum Racing. In the box seat for the moment, lying fourth or fifth on our virtual eye standings just now.
Allegre and Azura and Brenenesek really having the best race here. They've got out to that right side, and if any more right comes in with more pressure at the top, they could well be laying this top mark. And Azura will be looking back at where Allegre are, and Allegre down in fifth at the moment. Currently, that puts Azura on the podium if Allegre stay where they are. Allegre have had a great consistent regatta, and just one harsh result at the end could see them just being pipped off the podium.
Azura have been a little bit up and down here, but nice shot there from our drone. Looking at the two protagonists for this world title, Platoon just the weather of Quantum Racing. A little bit more chop as we expected. I think probably as choppy as we've seen it this week, Fergal.
Yeah, I think we saw one afternoon when the sea breeze really filled in, and we got a few white caps. And up to 16, 17 knots of breeze, but this is certainly the most solid high teens, and it's only forecast to build. So we could see an exciting downwind, and everyone's just got to keep on their game and make sure there's no unforced errors. Make sure all their kite hoists and drops are perfect. We haven't seen 100% perfect drops and hoists this week. So last race. They all know it's the last race, and they've all got to put their stamp on this race. Unfortunately for Ran and Gladiator, they're way deep in this fleet, and they've got a lot of work to do. And they'll be hoping that personal battles up the front will allow them to get back into the race more.
Jenny, we're seeing the right becoming increasingly strong. Certainly where Brenenesek and Azura are. Brenenesek leading on the water from Allegre. We now have Platoon up to third, but that's going to depend how that. Right continues to pay. Jen, are you seeing that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a long upwind here. We had a 2.5 mile upwind, and
wow.
We definitely can get close to this right-hand shore near Piombino. So I think it's fair enough to assume that we might get a little right shift there. We are seeing that on the fleet so far. It surprises me then that Platoon actually came back as early as they did, but I think for them, they'd rather come back early and not get tacked on by those guys, Azura and Brenenesek in the front.
Rivals.
Exactly, stay close to their rivals, and it looks still to me like a little battle for Quantum Racing, and the boat just underneath them, I think, is Allegre. So
that's right.
They're struggling to hold. In fact, they might have to tack off, which would be a really tough moment for them because they'd rather just stay with Platoon just above them, and I don't think they're going to be able to.
No, Allegre sailing quite a high mode, as you say, trying to get up and affect Quantum.
Quantum are in the really toughest position there. We know that Quantum have a really nice high mode. We heard Ed talking about it earlier. I think the next move we'd see from them is for them to foot off and try and be able to tack around the back of Platoon, because they're not quite forward enough on Platoon to be affecting them, but they're certainly, both boats certainly being affected by Allegre, and Allegre just being allowed to sail away. But Platoon really locked Quantum in. Quantum have to go the long way round to get away.
But fantastic racing. We know it's been worth the wait. We'd love to have had 2 races, but this really does put all the pressure, all the tension into this finale. Allegri going well as well.
Yeah, Allegri, they're obviously looking over at Azura. They're being able to see how well they're doing, but probably right now Allegri in the most right-hand pressure and extending forward and forward. And if they're able to get up near the ley line and have one short tack in on port, then they'll be hoping that Brunello and Azura have a little battle over there just for that right-hand side, and Allegri just quietly sailing around, sailing their own race as they have this week. And could definitely keep on to a podium finish. Quantum just looked like they're slightly more bow forward than I thought they were in the graphic earlier. Still probably not quite close enough to be affecting Platoon, and Platoon seemed pretty happy to stay and keep them in check and make sure they're not allowed to tack out.
I'm not sure though, Fergal. I think you're right that they were not as bow forward earlier, and they've come forward in the last minute. So I can't tell if it's because Allegri is in fact affecting Platoon worse than Quantum, or if Quantum's just got a little bit more bow down mode at the current moment. But and as I say that, and now Platoon is Platoon tacking. So perhaps they couldn't live anymore. Quantum had finally found their groove in these waves, and were able to hold them off and force those guys back to the right. Otherwise, John Kostecki choosing the right, but Quantum tacking with.
It's going to be a close one on the starboard ley line. Quantum obviously have to put in a perfect lee bow for when they do come back, or maybe, well, Platoon probably quite happy that Allegro's just put one on Quantum again there, and Quantum will be hoping they're not going to get affected too much. It looks like they're low enough down just to be out of the dirt, but it's not just those two boats. Everyone's trying to. There is potential for Allegro to actually beat Quantum and get up to second. Should Quantum have a disastrous race and Allegro go on to win. So Allegro is probably thinking of a big picture as well, and now we see Quantum having to tack off, maybe due to Allegro and Platoon both affecting them.
Yeah, that battle for third between Allegro and Azura, 30 points versus 32. Allegro in third going into this race. So the battle for the third step in the podium also in the balance just now. Advantage to, well, pretty much even just now, really, isn't it?
I think currently as they stand, if Azura win and Allegro come third, then it would actually be Azura. I think Azura would go into third just on countback for having the two firsts. And even if they both drop back one, Azura have still got a first in their arsenal from the second race of the week.
So it looked like it was a difficult spot for Platoon there as well. They, as you said, Azura tacked on Quantum Racing, but Platoon got tacked on by Sled. And then Platoon, when Quantum tacked out, Platoon covered with, and then Sled tacked with them again. So Platoon had to tack for a lee bow. I'm not sure who the boat is to weather of them, but they're not getting the easiest time. They're not able to sail clear like they have been all week long. They're finally getting into the mix with some other teams a little bit. I think it's going to be a harder race for them, but another cross coming up with Platoon and Quantum Racing. In fact, it looks like Quantum Racing may be just going for a tiny duck there with Platoon.
Platoon carrying on.
Platoon just going sensationally. Like they had, after Gran and Gladiator, you'd probably say that Platoon had one of the worst starts in the fleet. They managed to get out to the right, which they obviously wanted, and the heads just didn't go down. I think, as Ross Halcrow said earlier, it's just another normal day sailing for them. And
I think they have the confidence in their setup. They know they're quick, and quick upwind as well as downwind. Downwind is their strength, but certainly living quite happily where they are just now. They're this very, very flat setup, and in this breeze, this chop, I think that's working for them.
They'll certainly enjoy the length of the course. 2.5 miles, a run of that length. You know, we said before earlier in the week when they got so close to winning a race, Had it been a couple of extra 100 metres on,
Exactly.
and they could have taken
a couple of extra metres, really. But yeah, looking at Platoon there, what do you think of their setup, Fergal?
Oh, I think they've they've got the wardrobe, the sales wardrobe. They had to choose wisely. We started off in less pressure, and they've had to make a decision as to what sails they're going to use. I think they probably changed from there. They went out with their light mainsail up.
Yeah.
They've changed to their all-purpose or heavier airs mainsail. But the guys just look purely focused, and I think we'll see them lee bow or stick one on the face of Quantum here just to solidify their position, or not.
I don't think they will.
They'll probably go a little further. I don't think we'll see them go all the way to the ley line. I'd be surprised if they let that much of a gap between Quantum and Platoon develop, and I don't think we see them go all the way to the ley line.
And key for them is they have Kravetsa between them and Quantum. A little cushion.
I think the hard part for that lee bow Fergal would have been that they may have then been dictated by Quantum Racing. If they had tacked and lee bowed, Quantum would have tacked right back off. And they are close enough to this ley line. They'd be scared about a little right shift and then a tiny bit of starboard advantage, allowing Quantum to get ahead and Platoon having to duck. So instead, as you called it, they didn't quite go to the starboard ley line. They've tacked below that group of 5 boats who are up on the ley line, which is a nice, easy spot to then hit Quantum when they come back and feel confident that they are ahead of them.
From the graphic, it looks like Azura and Brunellasek and I think Pravetsa and Sled have all overstood the ley line. So if the right is getting stronger and stronger, as we saw the left doing earlier in the week, certainly on the coastal race where Platoon tacked under the ley line a long way and managed to make it, they've done it again here, and they'll be hoping that any more degrees of right that come in might get them up there. I mean, we saw that ley line being called a long way out, so they're clearly pretty good with their ley lines and happy with the weather forecast.
A word about the conditions just now, then Fergal, quite choppy there.
Yeah, it is. It's I think this is probably the choppiest we've seen it all week, and it's building and building all the time.
And again, from that point of view, time on the helm is to the advantage of Harmuller Spear, rather than Bora.
Yeah, you'd say so. Bora's going to be having Terry talking to him in maybe a different mood today, because it's not the same conditions they've been sailing in all week.
It's not just about the straight line speed, isn't it? It's about the speed build out of the tacks, the precision of the tacks, and that's again a small advantage to Platoon. As Platoon tack off, Jenny.
Yep, Platoon just barely not able to lay that, but very, very close. Just 2 short tacks here.
But just keeping it nice and conservative.
Exactly. And Quantum Racing coming in from Port Tack, having to do a big duck. In fact, we're seeing them a huge ease of the mainsail. So really, really tough call there. That'll put 2 more boats, or at least 1 more boat between Platoon and Quantum Racing.
But
Platoon is almost moved up to 3rd.
But great work from Platoon there, just keeping that loose, covering Quantum and making sure that Quantum got no opportunity, and knowing that they would have to duck a couple of boats there. So Platoon coming round, but call us as we approach this offset mark, Jen.
Well, we have Azura leading, which is good for the Italian team. It means they should move up to 3rd. Just behind Brunellasek, they're trying to get out of that last place spot overall in the World Championships. They're doing so in style right now with the 2nd place. We're just hearing some horns of a change of course, so I'm assuming the breeze a bit further right than they had set up the course for, so they'll be changing the bottom marks. Behind Brunellasek, red boats, German sails, so Platoon very much so able to get into a safe 3rd here. In fact, they did a really nice job there on the ley line. JK confident and a different ley line call than everyone else, as you guys said, spot on with it. Then Sled rounding Allegre rounding 4th, Sled rounding 5th. Really nice set by Brunette. Platoon. They're not able to get there. Okay, they've just gotten their front of their kite to pop. It took a little while. Maybe they put some extra guidance, knowing it was going to be windy up at the top. Allegre time Platoon in 5th. And then Preveza going for the early jibe. The first team here, the Turkish team,
In the right
jibing
hand
around that
breeze.
mark. Yeah, I like that call. It is a right-hand breeze, although we know that the bottom marks have been changed, so it doesn't help as much as if they had been the same bottom marks as the upwind. But behind, just even with Preveza, Quantum Racing, so they've dropped quite a bit on that upwind. And then Gladiator, recovering from their bad start, their really tough start, to catch up to third to last of seventh. Sorcha, and then Ron Racing, not an easy one to recover from their penalty at the start, but
Fergal, your thoughts down this run? Azura leading, Berenisek Platoon up to third, and they now have 2 boats between them and Quantum Racing.
Yeah, Platoon will just have to just hold their complacency and make sure that they just continue to sail a clean race. We know how fast they are downwind. We've been talking about it all week. Azura, you would put your money on Azura a lot of the time, so it would be hard for Azura to give up this lead. But you've got Berenisek, who have had a very, very tough week, and this will be by far their best result, breathing down their necks. But Platoon, I think we've got a 2.5 mile run. Berenisek just going there. I don't think we'll see.
Platoon sailing a little bit lower just now. Maybe that's just the angle that we were seeing.
I think they're actually able to sail slightly lower, but at the same speed as the JV boats in these conditions. Downwind have always been quick. We should see Ran catch up slightly as well. They're very, very quick hull shapes, and they really enjoy this breeze. So Platoon will. I think we'll see them catch up to Berenisek at the bottom mark, and they're obviously enjoying the right hand side as you look downwind, following Azura all the way into that corner. Maybe just trying to the team's just making it as few manoeuvres as possible in this, as few options for mistakes as possible, and not do so many jibes and just absolutely hammer at the boats. To be doing 15, 16 knots currently, I think on that graphic. Ran at the back is doing 16 knots. But it's a great way and great conditions to end the regatta and the World Championships in.
So yeah, we're just watching Allegra chasing Platoon, the World Championship title challengers, leaders of the regatta, and Platoon then, according to our virtual, up to second place. Berenisek having jibed off, I think. Projected points show Platoon with that quite a comfortable margin, points margin just now. Azura getting up to third. Azura winners in Miami in March.
I think that's it's an incredible feat over 9 races. If they continue to place in second or even third, to have a low 20s score over 9 races is a rare thing in this fleet.
Just talk us through this jibe, Fergal.
So they will have switched in their jibe mode. You'll see the Spinnaker jibing outside. In the light airs, they have the Spinnaker jibing inside. And the other thing we notice in this downwind is that they've still got the jib
Jibs
up.
up, yeah.
In 16 knots plus, the staysail will be left and the jib will be kept up. There'll be
Why is that?
There'll be a big speed loss in having men forward on the bow,
yeah.
taking the jib down, putting the staysail back up, and for that loss, you might as well keep the jib up and have some power in it. So we'll see the mid-bowman on most boats will generally run to the back. They'll be stacking aft, trying to get the bow out of the water a little bit, because these boats they kind of want a nosedive when they've got this
You
good
see that
breeze.
just now a little bit on Allegra there. But Azura lead of 125 metres just now. You always want to, if you've had a kind of up and down regatta, you always want to finish on a high note. Azura certainly were World Championship contenders coming in here, and a little bit shaky at times with a 2/6 and an 8th in their score line. Otherwise, some force and started off with the third. So then looking at Quantum Racing then, the defending world champions going into their jibe, Fergal.
Yeah, we just see we see the bowman there just helping the sheet round, then diving under the jib, and then gathering the new sheet, the old sheet, trying to get it in the boat so it's not going over the side. Still a little bit of a roll. They didn't all jump over straight away. They waited till the main was down, the kite was filled, and then we see people start to stack up in the back. It's interesting. They've still got their grinders in the forward pedestal. I thought in this breeze we might see the grinders being moved to the aft pedestal, but they're obviously not feeling the bow going down on Quantum as much as maybe some of the other boats, which we'll see stacking aft a little more.
So in the meantime, it looks like Brunasek have come back a little bit on that left side, going for the earlier jibe. And also Platoon now, just keeping that cover in Quantum.
I think I don't think that early jibe was a great decision for any of the teams. I don't think Brunasek will gain. I think they might lose to Platoon and potentially even Allegre coming back next. It looks here like Provetsa has lost out slightly. Certainly on the graphic it shows Provetsa down to 8th. They are getting let down as they come down on starboard, but I don't think that early right will have paid as much as the boats that really kept the power and speed and go into the left as you look upwind.
I think we may have Jenny Tulloch back with us. Jenny, what can you tell us?
Well, we are bombing downwind. We're talking about chop, but it is definitely swell as well. So we see some of the teams having some good rides. It is planing conditions, not totally completely all the time, but they get a good solid 3 boat length ride, and we're doing the same on the motor boat. So it's a fun day to be out on the water. I think, as you guys said, the right not paying off as well as we thought it would be. Perhaps on the downwind, you're not getting as close into that shore, so you're not getting the ultimate big right shift that we saw. Well, we also saw the breeze just go right on the upwind. So I think maybe perhaps a little bit more pressure out here, a little bit more pressure offshore, and looking good for the guys who came all the way out here.
So we're just there in the foreground of our picture. We have Allegre.
I think Allegre are going to be big gainers down this. I think they went round in 4th last time. It's got them still being 4th, but just from that graphic, since they jibed, they've just been let down, and they're pretty close to the ley line as well. And I think they'll be a little closer to Platoon and certainly a bit closer to Brunasek than they were at the top mark. And they're keeping up some really good form.
So can they catch the Azura and rescue their 3rd place in the podium?
I don't think they will. I think Azura's got enough. Azura's got enough of a commanding lead over the entire regatta, and they
need to get Brunasek though, don't they?
They do. If they tie on equal points, like we said, Azura will still go through into 3rd. So Allegre really need to get within 1 place of them, or really they really want to beat them. But I think Azura in this, a clean mark rounding, and again it is a long beat, 2.5 miles. They got a good 20-25 minute beat. So I think personally I think Azura will hang on to this.
Good. And Jenny, Platoon's tactics down this run, keeping it nice and tight, nice and conservative, holding their lane, and really just don't get involved with anyone. Although they are just converging with, I think Provetsa, who is it?
Brunasek, it looks like they've just jibed on top of the bright blue boat, Brunasek. I think, again, it's been their tactics all week long. Stay out of the fray. Those are good tactics as well when you know you're fast. So both upwind and downwind. Exactly. You're okay to have a not as good start, not push it so hard if you know you can move through the fleet. So we've been giving John Kostecki a lot of credit, but I think we also have to give Dirk de Ritter and Ross Hallcrow and the rest of the fleet, the rest of the guys on that boat, really good credit for setting that boat up so fast.
I don't know if you heard it, but we spoke with Pepe Ribas. Pepe has come on as the boat captain and the crew boss, hugely experienced, very motivated. And I think he's been a key influence as well. As we're looking at the leeward gate then, Jenny, talk us through it.
Well, we've got Azura still in a slightly commanding lead, probably 2.5 boat lengths. Just dropped the kite, rounding the left-hand mark. Brunasek, beautiful drop there. Looks like they'll be rounding the right-hand mark, and Platoon ripping in with a much later drop. In fact, Platoon might have even just gotten room on Brunasek. I think Brunasek jibing for the right mark looking upwind, and Platoon coming this side to the left mark. Allegre, it looked like it was a good game, but it just didn't quite work out the way that we thought on this side. So Allegre still about 2 boat lengths behind Platoon, driving onto the same side as Platoon here. And then very close behind Gladiator with a big comeback. Yeah, about 4 boats. So Quantum Racing losing out here. There's 4 boats rounding Gladiator, the first of those 4. Well done to your team, Fergal. Sled just driving inside of Gladiator, so Sled just able to hold him off. On the far side, Proveza.
Kite issues coming down. Not such a slick drop from the Quantum Racing team. Looked like the drop line didn't work for them, Fergal.
They're all bunched up right now. I think they're going to be really frustrated on board. We know what that can sound like, and it's not going to be any fun for them. So they're going to have to tack off as well, because not having a great rounding there means they're low to the line of Preveza just in front of them.
Yeah, Quantum had a really tough. I mean, they came in. There was a big bunch up there. That some of the boats from behind came in with slightly better pressure. I think that happens when you're behind. You get obviously going downwind. You get the pressure first, so you get that little catch up, and everyone just congregated and congested at the bottom mark. And Quantum really came out the worst out of anyone. I mean, they weren't high up the fleet where they were in 7th, going around the top mark and coming around in 9th. And having to tack off because they've been immediately under the bad air of Preveza and Ran, who will be very glad to get back into this. Ran back up to 5th according to the graphic.
I think, Fergal and Andy, it just goes to show as well that the right side looking upwind paid on the downwind as well. We saw those guys who rounded near the back of the pack all jibe early, and Quantum essentially came out the furthest out here into the bay. And it looked good for us. It looked good on the virtual eye, but it wasn't good in reality. So I think we'll see the fleet fighting hard for the right-hand side again on the upwind.
Yeah, but I think that gain really came in the bottom third of the run, didn't it? We saw Gladiator coming in, and their gain was certainly in the second half, or the last third of the run, wasn't it? They came in very quickly.
Exactly. They brought down a puff, and they were planing right at the end there, and it was really good.
Yeah, Fergal was getting quite excited.
I think it's one thing that the guys at Boateen, we spoke about it yesterday, and what the difference between Quantum and Gladiator in the hull shapes are. Yeah. And we talked about Gladiator's hull shape has been made very, very quick upwind, but without the compromised downwind. So, like I said yesterday, that they are very, very to make a boat really quick upwind. You sometimes have to sacrifice that downwind speed. But
credit then to the Boateen Partners team.
But obviously, equal credit to the JV team, whose boat is absolutely ripping and up into second according to the graphic, and just chipping away as they have done all week, and they've massive fair play and respect for keeping cool when it looks like it kind of went the opposite way for Quantum. If those guys kept cool, and they've seemed to have come out on top, but Quantum maybe a little bit flustered, and you don't see a bad drop normally on that boat, and there's very few unforced errors on board Quantum.
Yeah, so last time a Rolex boat won the World Championship would have been 2013 in Miami with the Ran Racing, and that was on the last race. So Quantum pushing right out to this left side upwind, trying to find something. But they're deep. They're presently in 8th place. Platoon up in 2nd. As we got this second beat of this final race of the Rolex TP52 World Championship here in Scarlino. The regatta leaders, Platoon, in the box seat.
Interesting to see Quantum going the furthest left. Them and Sorcha, I think they're the only 2 boats currently on starboard, and they're just tacking back according to the virtual, but they have become the furthest left. So, has there been a slight steadying of the wind as it stopped clocking right so much? Is it a bit more of a fairer track, and we still see Azura and the entire fleet heading out to the right, and as Jenny said, coming downwind, you get a bit closer to the shore and you pick up more of a right. So Quantum will just be hoping maybe there's a bit more pressure out there to get back into this after their disappointing rounding at the bottom.
In the meantime, Jenny, looks like Platoon are through Brunellasek. Can you see that in the water?
Yeah, I think Platoon doing really, really well strongly in the middle. They've been fast all week. They're even happier to be sailing in breeze. And I think, unfortunately for Quantum, I don't think they wanted to come out to the left. I just don't think they had any options to go right. They've got a fleet of 7 boats in front of them. They had a bad rounding. They were stuck behind Provezza. And when you know that you're not winning and you ultimately can't really lose that easily to second place, then they sort of roll the die for this left-hand side. But I think we're going to see it maybe not pay off. So it's going to be a really tough one to swallow. But if they've got Allegre as the team that could easily beat them, I think they've got 10 points on Azura. So even if Quantum comes 10th and Azura wins, they won't drop Azura. And I think as long as Allegre isn't first or second, then Quantum can roll the dice as much as they want, trying to get back towards Platoon. But Platoon doing really well, strong up the middle. If they're into second place now, they're just going to be putting a stamp on what's already been a really convincing week.
It has, isn't it? Cheese, isn't it? Dirk de Ridder who talks about keeping the boat happy, or what the boat.
Yeah, I mean he said a couple times this week, you can't ask me about tactics. That's JK's job. I just pay attention to the main and the driver, and he's a lot of fun because he's a joker, I think. So you're right. He likes to keep the boat happy. He and Ross Hallcrow and JK, we've been saying, have been sailing together for 20 years. They know how to sail with each other. They know how to make this boat go fast, clearly, and I think they're only happier, the only more merry the windier it gets. So
yeah.
It hasn't really built much since the start. Surprisingly, the breeze came in quickly up to that 16, 17 knots, and then it's just sort of hung out at 16, 17 here. I thought maybe it would keep building to 20, 25 since we knew it was blowing 40 knots over in Corsica, but it's just beautiful conditions for the race course now, and it makes for easier decisions on board. They haven't had to think about that next crossover of sails, which I think doesn't happen until 22 knots. Right now, everyone just happy in their medium sails, and Platoon clearly going very well.
Platoon have got the into second. They're closing, I think, Azura very slowly up this long beat, about 50-meter lead according to the virtual Fergal.
Yeah, they seem like they've been reeling them in along here. Both boats have been on the same tack for a long time, so it's a bit of a drag race out to this right-hand side for everyone. We're just starting to see on Quantum and Allegre a bit of a right come in, and they've gone down a few degrees, and Provezza as well. So I think we'll start to see. I don't know if Jenny can see clearer how close they are to the ley line, but we might start to see boats start to tack off soon if this right is building.
I think you're right. Probably Azura within the next 20 boat lengths should tack, but they don't want to lose too much of their lead by overstanding the same way the top 4 did last time. But they'd rather overstand just a touch than sacrifice 2 tacks at the top. So it'll be the navigator's call on board. It's the decision of, well, I guess also Vasco Vescoto, but Bruno Zerilli, just to say this is our ley line, this is our time, and hope it doesn't switch too much for there or go too much further right from there.
Meantime, the Gladiator not really going too badly. Fergal seem to be up to 4th place.
Yeah, they're. I think it's one of the kind of things we have going on in the boat now is never let the head down. We've suffered some bad results in this week, but the head's never been down, and we've come back strong. And we arguably, along with Ran, had the worst start in the fleet. And now we see Ran and Gladiator back up into mid 4th and 5th according to the virtual eye. So it's nice to see that everyone's just keeping strong all the way to the last minute of the regatta, and it's certainly nice when it's my team doing it. And you saw me with my head in my hands at the start, and
the only person whose head went down.
Yeah, it was. But no, I had all faith in them. And the boat.
This would give you the mid-fleet result. If we could maybe just have a very quick look at the projected points table purely for Fergal and the Gladiator team. But you said the top 4 was your dream coming here. Not too far away from that just now.
Yeah, I think everyone on board would be very, very happy with that, considering the lower scores of the week, 2 10s and an 8.
Yeah.
If we stay like this and manage to get into 5th, then we did struggle with the back end of last year. We just started to get the red boat going, and we had a decent time in Key West. We managed to win a race there, and then Miami, obviously we had to bring the red boat back in, and we sailed that well there. So we just about got it going, but it's very good for Tony, and it means that the purchase of the boat is definitely all worth it. And we saw in Key West, certainly when we had a windy Key West, how quick Interlodge made that boat go. I think they won 4 races in Key West.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for a couple of unforced errors,
very shrewd purchase, I would say.
It was, but we've just seen how good that boat is, and credit to all the guys, not only on Gladiator and the build team, but also the guys at Interlodge who built a great boat as well.
Well, who'd have thought then, looking at the projected points table, that has Platoon 9 points ahead of Quantum Racing. Quantum lying in 9th on the water. Some 300 metres behind Platoon.
Yeah, it's a great tight table to see. 13 points between 1st and 4th is a pretty tight top 4.
It is indeed.
Considering the week, I think it's impossible for Azura to beat Quantum. So if Azura does win this race, and if anything happens to Quantum, that's how the table would finish. But it's not nice, but it's good to see another boat kind of toppling the
monopoly,
the monopoly that Azura and Quantum have had over the fleet for so long.
A little bit of kudos as well to Ran Racing. Started with that penalty, now up to 6th place, chipping away, not too far behind Allegri. Allegri really are their kind of biggest rivals, similar to the Quantum Racing and Azura rivalry. As I've said before, that rivalry goes back into the Mini Maxi fleet.
Ran's a very, very quick boat downwind. We've always seen Ran as a team in their boat from 2011 and this one from 2015 have always been quick downwind. They've always been good in the stronger pressure as well. So it's a continuing run of form for Ran to be back into this race after a tough start.
So the race leaders since the first round is Zura, Vasco Vascotto, the tactician, Guillermo Parada, pro driver, hugely experienced team, won the Worlds back in 2015 in Portals, second in 2013 in Mallorca, in Miami that was, of course. And they were second in the Worlds in Valencia as Matador, and won the Worlds in 2009 in Palma.
They've done a nice job here, just consolidating that lead since the beginning. They knew the right was strong, so they went out there early. They knew that most boats were going to follow. They didn't have to worry about anyone ringing the bell and going out to the left. But
in fact, they've gained about 40-50 metres up this beat, or the second part of this beat. How's the wind pressure, Jenny? It looks to have stabilised.
Absolutely, it has stabilised. I think probably 16 knots, maybe even 15 knots now. Maybe it's dropped a little bit since the peak that we saw. We just saw Platoon easy cross and face plant Brunello-Sec, so they have definitely moved into second there. Brunello-Sec just had to do a little bit of a hitch up, so I think ley line, or very close to ley line at this point. And Azura just tacking onto ley line in front as well. Looks like they have a good at least 5 or 6 boat length lead from here, so the Italians will be happy, or at least hoping to be happy, getting onto the podium, bar nothing happening on the downwind.
I'll look to have stepped just a little bit above ley line, perhaps, Fergal.
Yeah, it does look like it's the same again. It was maybe it's a very tough ley line to call with the pressure over there, and also maybe the wave angle, meaning they're being bounced over to the left a little bit more and having to foot off slightly just for a bit of speed. so maybe the high mode isn't that much of an option, so they go overstand the ley line slightly. But we see all the boats here, according to the graphic, from Azura back to Ran, all the boats who are on starboard there. Allegre, the only boat who's under ley, but they're going to have to do 2 tacks to come back out. And I think Allegre and Ran will be quite close together. And I think we'll see Gladiator a little bit closer to Brunelesek and hoping to take a scalp off of them downwind. But I think Platoon just having, for me, the guys having the best race at the moment are Platoon, for sure.
It did not look so good off the start line, though, Jenny, did it, for Platoon?
Oh, it was painful off the start line. We really thought that Quantum Racing had played a good one on Platoon, forcing them out to the right, forcing them to be part of the melee. The boat was ultimately a penalty for Ran Racing, a bad start for Gladiator, and a not so great second row start for Platoon. So to see them have that start and then move up into what is second place now by the first downwind and the second downwind, incredible job for those guys. At the current moment, the Italians, Azura, the darker blue boat, they had a great start. They've led from the start. They are just about to round the top mark the final time on the Tyrrhenian Sea, and they'll be happy. If they haven't had a great week so far, at least they are taking home a win in their home waters today. Just bearing away now, as you said, overstood just a little bit, just bearing away, rounding the top mark, no problem, and then headed towards the offset. Behind by about only now 3.5, maybe 4 boat lengths, Platoon. So even towards the end, they've been gaining all the time on Azura and putting some distance on Brunelesek behind them.
Could they catch Azura, Fergal?
Give it. No, I don't think they will. I think Azura are too strong, but I definitely think if they're half a spread a leg behind at the moment, maybe they'll be wishing by the end that there was a 2.8 mile run. But I think they'll close the gap, but I don't think they'll catch them.
But certainly for Azura, then the team from the Yacht Club Costa Smeralda, where the 52 Super Series goes to next. We know that we have quite a big following from the Yacht Club Costa Smeralda. Their support boat, their team boat, is out on the water with quite a number of spectators, so this will be one for them. And just watching Mickey Muller there, mid-bowman on Platoon, sneaking the Jenniker out. Talk through the hoist, Fergal.
So yeah, they've got you've got the mid-bowman Mickey Muller just holding the foot of the jib up, just so there's less friction of the kite going up, and it can go up in one solid, one fluid motion. Then we saw him just run to the clew of the jib and attach the downwind jib sheets. So that means that there's a system running through underneath the deck, which means they have a jib sheet right at the back of the boat. And Mickey himself will probably run back, pick up the 3-to-1 jib sheet, and he'll now become the jib trimmer, which is now acting as a staysail.
I think Platoon with a good hoist, but the best hoist perhaps was behind on Brunelesek. They had to sail high. Oh no, Gladiator's having an issue. I'll try to get our camera onto Gladiator for you guys. They've just lost their tack. Their kite blowing up in the air. So a really tough scenario there. I'm not quite sure what happened, Fergal, but it looks like a ball and kite or a shackle on it. It's come undone.
Well, it's one of these one of the unfortunate things of racing. But we said earlier, when you're having a bad race, and you'll be looking forward in the fleet to see if things are going wrong on other boats, and see if
got another kite there ready to go.
Yeah, I think they've actually gone out. Doogie's been out to the end of the bowsprit, picked up the tack line. He's come back. They've managed to rescue the tack of the sail, and now they'll be going back. You'll see Tom Wilson in the pit just pulling the tack line back out, and they'll be going with the same kite. But that's a huge costly thing. The kite had already started to come down, or maybe it wasn't quite a full hoist in the first place. But a huge costly error for Gladiator, probably unforced, and it could just be as simple as the Tylaska clip not being fully connected.
What's not connected?
So on the tack, at the end of the tack line, we have a Tylaska, a clip that just goes onto the tack of the kite, and just as it was going out, maybe it got caught, or maybe it just wasn't clipped in properly. but as soon as it got filled, then there's a lot of load in those kites, up to maybe 500-600 kilos on the tack line in this kind of wind strength. So that's enough to open that small shackle and cause a problem like that. But they're back in, they've got it back on, and now they've just got to get back, and hopefully they can keep their position that they had over Allegre and Ran, who were breathing down their necks.
We saw a small problem as well on the back of the pack. Preveza had an hourglass for a long period of time, and then it just came out on its own. But Sorcha in last place, I can't see what the issue is, but they don't even have a kite up at the moment. They've had about 15 boat lengths since the top mark without a kite. So big problems in the back of the pack. We're busting down now to get closer to the Italians winning this race, and it looks like they have made a huge. Does it look like they've made a huge gain to you guys on the virtual eye?
Yeah, on virtual and the drone we were just seeing there, it looks like they got let down on the port jibe, and then when they jibed off, and that's jibed into a little header, and they've just been let down again. And I think their lead will have probably almost doubled over Platoon, but certainly a nice bit of maybe a bit of luck, but also good strategy from all the guys in Azura. One thing you see from the boats who did have the problems, Sorcha and Gladiator, how low they try and go when they've got all these problems. They're just trying to consolidate and not lose anything. It'd be very easy to heat the boat up and try and go faster, which makes it harder for the guys in the bow to do their jobs, the sails filling and the boat heating over. So they go lower down the course, they get closer to the marks. Obviously going dead downwind is the shortest route. So while they do have those issues, get closer to the marks. So when they do get the issue sorted, they're already further down the course, if not slightly, if not a long way behind. Azura's lead growing out to 300 meters now. I think at the top they're about three or four boat lengths ahead of Platoon, and that's just growing and growing. I thought that Platoon would catch. Maybe on a boat speed thing they might have done, but Azura just got some good shifts there and managed to just extend and extend.
I think probably sheer willpower as well.
Preveza and Sled really liking this right-hand side. Maybe we see Preveza jibing on top of Sled. I think in the overalls for the regatta, Preveza and Sled are quite close, and Preveza have obviously got their average score for redress. I think we just see on the graphic there they both jibed Preveza on top of Sled, and they'll be trying to gain the place off of Sled and hopefully take the overall points. But they finished currently. If this is the finishing order at the bottom, Preveza would only be a point behind Sled. So if they do manage to get in front of them, then it'll be obviously the other way around, and so there's a real battle for seventh between Sled and Preveza back there.
I think the good news there, Fergal, is that Ran Racing has gone from, is it 8th to 6th if they continue sailing the way that they are at the current moment?
To 5th if they cross Gladiator.
All right, so great day for them if that happens.
But in the meantime, it looks like Brennasek have got back through Platoon, first and second sister ships, Azura and Brennasek.
Yeah, Platoon maybe just struggling down through the middle. Maybe there was some. I don't think there would have been too much dirty air from the boats who would have jibed before them. But certainly going into the two corners, Azura and Brennasek, looking like Brennasek making a gain and Azura making a massive extension on the fleet.
But I don't think I'd be too concerned about that just now. At the moment, their minds is starting to think about the world title.
Platoon just in. You see Platoon just in front of Ran. They can sit. They'll be seeing Quantum behind Ran and behind Allegre there. I'm sure they're not looking back too much. Looking forward to to seeing if they can take a place off of Brunellasek if they have lost it down this run. But certainly for this regatta and the World Championships, they'll be having one eye out the boat and knowing that it's as close as theirs.
Obviously at the top of the season-long standings, then compressing slightly between Azzurra and the Platoon. And this result for Quantum, also good for these two boats. It's not just about the World Championship. This would be us halfway through the season then, really, Fergal.
Yeah, we're at that point. We have 3 more regattas after this in Porto-Cervo, Portales and Mahon. So we are at the midway stage, and we talk about how tight the regatta tables are, but looking how tight
projected serious points there. Platoon leading 104, Azzurra 107, and Quantum 114, projected at the midpoint of the season.
Privetza are going to be hoping to take this point off Sled if they can. I don't think they're going to be quite able to get back into them in this race, but for the overall series, it'd be nice for Privetza to keep in that 4th place that they're in.
So Jen, how's this run looking just now for you?
Well, it looks like we're having a good battle right now between Platoon and Brunellasek. I'm seeing Brunellasek, Spinnaker luffing at the front a bit more than you would expect, which I think maybe means Platoon is starting to affect them, had jibed in the right position to be able to take advantage on this long jibe into the finish line. I can't tell. There's not really much more room for Brunellasek to jibe out and come back with clear air, so they're just going to have to try to keep their breeze forward, but it does look like Platoon might be affecting them and able to roll over the top.
I think that would just add to the pleasure if they could come away with a second in this race. But no mistaking the leaders just now, the blue hull of Azzurra, the Yacht Club Costa Smeralda team. That's where we're heading next.
Really nice downwind sailing conditions. The angle of these waves is suited perfectly to the wind angle as well. So we're seeing the bow pop out of the water on the tops, and then being able to get a little surf. I think before the race started, we heard that the O flag, the Oscar flag, went up, meaning the boats are allowed to pump. So with this wave angle on starboard tack, they're really going to be pumping what they can out of the main just to try and get those extra meters and boat lengths out of the boats down here.
I'm not sure if you guys caught it there, but Platoon was able to roll. Yeah, impressively, Brunellasek kept their kite full the whole time. There's enough breeze for them to keep their kite full, but Platoon just kept soaking low, rolled over the top, gave them the extra gas, and Brunellasek now out the back. So really well done to the Platoon team there. Unfortunately, Brunellasek now going to have to defend the boats behind, otherwise the whole train's going to roll over.
That's right. The icing on the cake then would be a second. Azzurra pretty much away from them at 110, 120 metres, something like that.
When was the last time a boat won a regatta without winning a race?
Don't know.
I don't think it's...
no, I don't think it's that long ago, to be honest. But
well, it is the finish line that Azzurra is approaching now, you guys. They are only 1.5 boat lengths off the finish line. They've just jibed there. Well, I don't think they're quite celebrating on board yet, but they are about to be. In half a boat length, they'll be taking their win and the final race of this regatta.
Yep, all credit to Vasco Vascotto, Guillermo Parada, Bruno Zerilli and the team on Azzurra. That should give them the third place that they were seeking, overturning Allegra's third. But Jenny, Platoon coming through the finish line in the next few seconds. Talk us through it. Final jibe. Harmless.
Yeah, the race behind. The race behind for Platoon, they have shown such a phenomenal week. They have just been consistently sailing through the fleet, and you can see huge celebration on board. An excellent win for those guys, their first World Championship.
Delighted, absolutely delighted. Doesn't quite know what to do. John Kostecki, as ever, cool, calm, collected.
Wow, and sneaking in for the third place is Ran Racing.
Fantastic.
Just squeezed in at the pin for Braninisek. Pin being favored. I think Braninesek's crossing the line before Allegre, but that was a close, and their celebration on board Ran as well. They came from a bad start. The Gladiator now pulling in, and I think they will just nip Quantum at the line, but a really tight finish there for the third to fifth place boats.
Yeah, all credit to Ran Racing. Then they had that penalty on the start line, chipped away all the way through the race, got up to third place, just taking Braninisek on the line. Another little rivalry that exists in this fleet. But there we are, looking at the new world champions from Germany, Harmüller Speer and his team. Among the team, Jordi Calafat, of course, the strategist and sail designer, America's Cup winner and Olympic gold medalist, and key influence in the teams, Johan Barn, the navigator. As we said, the core team really is the three amigos, really Ross Halkro, Dirk de Ridder and JK, John Kostecki. Enjoying the moment there is Cheese there. Dirk de Ridder won the Med Cup before, and in fact the Breitling Med Cup way back when, in the early days with Peter de Ridder. And that is Jordi Calafat on the helm. Johan Barn, the navigator, just sending the data to the shore team ready for analysis.
Continues.
They don't need that to tell them they're world champions.
But they are getting a good cheer as well from the Ran Racing team. That was nice to see.
And a few words about the Quantum team. How must they be feeling just now, Jenny?
Oh, I'm a little heartbroken for those guys. I mean, especially on Terry Hutchinson's birthday, you would want to come out here firing. You would want to have a win, and they were fired up on the start line. They had a great game plan, probably mess with Platoon if you can, but still get a good start and be clear, and they did that. And then they just weren't quite able to play the game that they wanted on the upwind, and they got bounced around a little bit. They went from probably third to about seventh, and then it only got worse from there. They weren't able to quite call the downwind and get into that pressure that allowed some of the other guys who were back in the pack to come forward. I mean, Ron Racing, we saw, rounded the first mark 10th, and they just finished third. So there was still plenty of opportunity on the race course, but it just wasn't Terry's day. I think we knew that he was full of nervous energy this morning, and he's often full of that sort of energy, but I think sometimes it helps in his favor and maybe a little bit too much, and the cup runneth over. And perhaps that's what we saw today. And as we said, John Kostecki, calm, cool, and collected, and the Platoon team really, really handing a convincing win here. And I think Quantum Racing will be happy because they're teammates. But that's
the
it.
trimmer there taking a drink. Pepe Ribes, the pit man that we spoke with in our interviews earlier on today.
It's a pretty good solid team.
It's not a bad team, you know. We talk about Quantum,
gold medalist as well.
Exactly. Exactly. And Ross Halkro, I'm sure, has won the worlds way back when also. Been around.
You know, we had that interview with Harmüller Speer yesterday, and he was pretty fired up about being an amateur and being ahead of the rest of these guys. And I think we've said it throughout this week. He's not a shabby sailor. He's won at Dragon Worlds in his own right, but he's going to be very fired up here, and we're getting a wave from a happy owner there.
Absolutely, but I mean, we have to give him credit. You know, it's probably a little bit of a painful day for Marcus Wieser, who sailed with him for so many years. But Harm's done what he felt he needed to do, I think, in making those changes last season, coming into this season, and they have paid off for him. That is the nature of the sport, and at the moment then John Kostecki, the tactician who's contributed so much to this win, the first world title for Platoon, and I say breaking that monopoly that has been held really since 2008 between the three teams, between Ran Racing, between Quantum Racing 5 times world champions, and Azura, and so all credit to Platoon. There is the leaderboard after 8 races. Platoon winning on 22 points by 7 points in the end from Quantum Racing. Azura then pipping Allegri. Allegri were in third going into that race. Azura get third on 33 points. Allegra then on fourth place on 35. Gladiator then coming in mid-table, 45 points. Then Ran Racing getting up to sixth. A great finish for them in the end, considering they were down in the basement in the early part of the week. Sled getting seventh. Provezza 8th, Granina 2nd, 9th, and Sorsha 10th. Fergal, a few words on the Platoon performance.
Just from the get-go, their worst result all week was a 6th. The rest were 2s and 3s. They sailed such a clean and calm regatta. They sailed their own race every day. They didn't get mixed up in any duels, unnecessary duels early on. They've obviously got a fantastic team. We talk about the core a lot, those three sailing together, but
it's a full team effort.
The entire team, 12 guys, they can't do it without each other. And the shore team, as Pepe said earlier, for sure. Like all the shore crews here do such a good job of making these boats perfect, and platoons have done an equal job to everyone else, and kept their boat in great shape. And I think another thing to think about is Quantum Racing. Whilst they will be, kind of gutted that they've come second, they wanted to win. They came here to win. They came here to bounce back from Miami. They've come second, but Quantum as a whole have got 3 boats in the top 5, and they've got first and second place. So there's going to be, I'm sure, for Ed Reynolds and the rest of the Quantum group there's going to be this bittersweet. They've got.
There you go. There's the Platoon team. Happy days. The most consistent team this season. 2-2-1 over the first 3 regattas of the season.
That's pretty amazing. They've sailed very well, and there's so many people in the background. There's so much background staff going on in design and sail design, boat design, systems designs that will eventually get some credit. But there's so much going on in these boats' backgrounds, and there'll be a lot of people very happy outside of the fleet who will be happy with today's result.
Jenny, fabulous job on the water from you. A real pleasure to work with you. Tell us your final thoughts on this World Championship.
Oh, I think everyone has enjoyed their time out here in Tuscany, the Tyrrhenian Sea, delivering a beautiful week of racing here. I think Platoon ultimately showing their form. They had a phenomenal week. They're just giving us some love, and also just delivered of us. Bernennesek's giving them a big hand and a big round of applause. And I think we have to. They were the form team here. They've delivered for themselves and for their owner, and for the week. They've had a wonderful Rolex TP52 World Championship. They've been a great team.
They have indeed. And Fergal, of course, we've said several times this week, Platoon have been so close to winning regattas. They were close in Miami. They were close in Puerto Portals 2 years ago, I think it was, finishing up second to Azura. And this time they've managed to close it out.
What an event to do it in. When you've been the bridesmaid a couple of times, and if you're going to win your first regatta, why not make it the World Championships? Full credit to Harm and the team for sailing an amazing regatta, and credit to all the other teams as well to keep the title. This is probably one of the most low-scoring regattas we've seen across the Super Series, not just a World Championship, but after 9 races, the lowest score I think is 62 points, or maybe not even that much. So it's a very low-scoring regatta across the entire fleet, which just shows how much we're compressing as a fleet.
And very worthy world champions. We've had a good range of conditions, finishing off in 16, 17 knots. Starting off, if you remember, on that first day where we could only get 1 race away because the breeze was so light. Say very worthy world champions performance from Platoon across the wind range.
Yeah, for sure. And it's been across a wind range, but it's also been a directional range. There's been a lot of shifty conditions. This is the first time we saw really lumpy seas, but we had a coastal thrown in as well, which is the first one we've had this year. So we had to get back into the routine of having that, and yeah, absolutely worthy champions for the diverse week.
It seemed like so much of the race, the form of the race was set off the start line. What really happened there? It seemed very, very right biased on the committee boat. Was that bias, or was everybody looking to go right? Maybe we could have a quick look at the replay.
I think the main thing was that everyone knew from the moment we went out and we were in this kind of southerly breeze that there was going to be a westerly coming in, and as the it's not just going to shift west and then just stay right there at 275. It's going to go round, and we knew that in the weather forecast that it was going to go round to as much as 290, and probably at the moment we could be seeing 290 to 300. Certainly the flags in front of the tower here have carried on moving round, but. Platoon, they wanted to be on the right end of the mark. They didn't. Oh, the right end of the line. Sorry, they didn't get the start they exactly wanted, but they were able to tack out right, and I think they were the first boat to tack right.
Hopefully we can. This is the overall standings for the series, 52 Super Series after 3 regattas: Key West, Miami, and now the Rolex 52 World Championships. Platoon leading on 103 points, and they've said they obviously wanted to win the world title, but the Super Series title is what they're gunning for. They're 4 points ahead just now. Azura then in second place, 107 points. Quantum Racing on 114. A little bit of a gap back to Preveza on 141. Then Ran Racing mid-table, Brunella Sec, Sled, Gladiator, Allegre and Sorsha. And we were just talking about the replay, hopefully, for that start line. So the breeze, I think, quite right anyway. But really, that was where some of the shape of the race took place, Fergal.
Yeah, definitely. And we've seen the boats who get the best starts all week carry on to win the race. I think the coastal race was the only one where we really saw that the start wasn't the deciding factor. But you know, the starts all week have been so important. Everyone knows how important the start is. It was. I don't think it was lucky that Platoon did what they did, going out right. They knew they wanted to go there.
It was the same kind of thing that we've seen over the course of the regatta, and that's really why they've won this world title. Say the first world title for Harmuller Spreer and his Platoon team, for the cool, calm Iceman cometh John Kostecki, influential in that team, and that's say they've had been the most consistent team this season, and certainly we saw their potential from a few weeks back as the potential world title holders, and here they are. So a fantastic regatta here, the Rolex TP52 World Championships, win for Platoon, and we go forward next month to Porto Cervo for the 4th regatta of the season. Join us again then. Thanks very much indeed to Fergal. Fabulous input over the course of this live broadcast, and also to Jenny Tulloch on the water. A big thank you to her, and thank you to you all for watching. We know that we've got sailing fans all the way around the world. Keep the questions coming all the way through on the social networks. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and join us again in Porto Cervo.